So, Stuart Hall defines ideology as a framework of thinking and calculation, the ideas which people use to figure out how the social world works, what their place is in it, and what they ought to do. This theory works in common sense. There's a social and economic hierarchy which compartmentalizes how we are to think and act in the world. There is a heavily constructed political dimension to popular culture. It is often exclusive and subtle. That is, it offers competing ideological significations of the way the world is or should be. Popular culture is, as Hall describes, a site where collective social understandings are created. Popular culture can make things appear normal even if they are not. This is called normalization. This then exacerbates identity tourism and often depicts social privilege and fuels stereotypical representation. An examination of stereotypical processes can be observed in Orientalism, a book by Edward Said, a Palestinian professor of English, history and comparative literature. Said claims the sense of Islam as a threatening other, with Muslims depicted as fanatical, violent, lustful, irrational, develops during the colonial period in what he calls Orientalism. The study of the other has a lot to do with the control and dominance of Europe and the West generally in the Islamic world, and it has persisted because it's based very, very deeply in religious roots. Although countries like Australia are referred to as being in the West, we are actually in the East. But for the sake of this video, I will refer to countries like New Zealand, Australia, Europe, and the United States as being in the West. Our preconceived notion of the East presents certain imagery, and this is often represented in popular culture on social networking sites such as Tumblr. When you look at images like these, for example, what do you see? All of these images are taken from countries with violent and fanatical stereotypes in the East, yet communicate a different perspective. In comparison, what comes to mind when looking at these images? All of these images depict violence and fanatical depictions that have actually occurred in the West, highlighting the blooming, buzzing confusion of reality James outlines, and presents the ideological fiction that is perpetrated in popular culture. Popular culture reflects certain interests and tells us how we should feel about certain traits and people. In the case of Tumblr, knowledge and information is often refracted from posts. It is highly unlikely a beautiful picture of Iran will have the caption Iran than it is to have the caption Pretty Pink Lake. The process is disaffiliating with content from the East. This consumption of content is motivated. It reflects the moment in which we live in. Lincoln and Robards note aspects of identity are embellished, forefronted, or erased for the purposes of projecting an ideal. In this instance, the West is a forefront for beautiful landscapes and the East is filled with violence. In contrast, another example of an ideological function in popular culture is capitalism. Popular culture is embedded with consumerism and commercialization. Singh notes that every commodity we own today not just reflects our social status and values, but also possesses the power to define us. She uses the popular example of IKEA in the movie Fight Club and the commodity that the IKEA nesting instinct has become, highlighting the thinking of what kind of dining set defines me. This has been born from a money-obsessed and consumerist society. We identify ourselves by our socio-economic status and through our possessions. Gore suggests that popular culture exists because of capitalism, the mode that political ideology can be exemplified and infiltrated into mass culture. In contrast, another example of ideological function in popular culture is capitalism. Popular culture is embedded with consumerism and commercialization. Singh notes that every commodity we own today not just reflects our social status and values, but also possesses the power to define us. To summarise, ideology in popular culture often has a political strain and is highly motivated and calculated. We have been automated to have particular beliefs and values regarding signifiers and symbols that we have not even experienced ourselves in person. Our perspectives carry interpretations, thus making them political. This is particularly evident in popular culture references such as movies like Fight Club.